Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, April 1st, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Friday, everyone. Before we get to the charts, I do want to invite you to join me to our April monthly market outlook. It will be held Monday, April 4th at 4 p.m. Central Time. Please join me. The link is in the description below. We're going to discuss our Q1 ideas and see how they turned out. And then we're also going to look for additional great opportunities for Q2 the next several months. A lot of great signs setting up in the charts here that Q2 could be a very active quarter here. You're definitely going to want to join me for this one. So again, please join me Monday, April 4th at 4 p.m. Central for our PivotBoss monthly market outlook for April and Q2 of 2022. Let's take a look here at the ES. You'll notice right now the ES finished the previous day very weak. In the final hour, major sell-off, stop run day down through 2-day lows, and now you see heading into this month a higher value relationship with the monthly pivots. You see a very strong rally to finish the month higher and a bullish close. So again, any pullback here for the month could provide an opportunity for bulls to defend, and we try higher. Now from a short-term perspective, the final hour of selling pressure and closing lower this way would suggest that early morning strength could be seen as an opportunity to sell for a push down. So it could be an inverted checkmark trend day downward as we look forward the rest of the day. Now keep in mind, the only time that the 8-period average has been tested is right the previous session. So right now it could be the second time it tests that area. This has been a very, very bullish move higher. So if we do drop downward here at some point over the course of the next 1 or 2 or 3 days, and the likelihood would be for a major rejection to be seen and an attempt to try higher up ahead. If there's a higher high failure or some rejection here, we may see a broader pullback ahead. But right now, again, from a short-term perspective, any strength this morning could be sold for new lows, and at some point here over the course of the next 1 or 3 days, looking for signs of a strong low for perhaps a buy the dip opportunity to begin the quarter. Let's take a look here at the NQ. Again, one thing you'll notice here going from March to April is that we had a lower value relationship month over month with the pivot range. Price pushed through and closed higher for the month, and that created not quite a higher value but an overlapping higher value. So you can see that midpoint is here, pivot point there, and the top of the pivot range is here, and it's higher for the first time in months here. And so again, when that happens, the first pullback could be an opportunity for bulls to defend as a change of bias of the overall trend changes and we perhaps become an uptrending market. So again, that's going to be a very important test early in the month. Of course, with the midpoint being way down here near about 14.1, that means that we could still drop another 800 points before this thing theoretically has a bounce here that could happen. A failure there could open up the lower end of that range. So ideally, that 400, 14.4, 14.1, somewhere in that zone, be about as deep as we go here on this pullback, and then you start to find some strength. But we'll continue to watch the NQ here early on. Again, looking at crude oil, this one gave up the 106 level. That 106 level yesterday, which was about right there, and that opened up selling pressure much of the day there. Closed lower today, having trouble with the previous session's close. Previous session's close been offered 101.20. Previous session's close is also the previous month's close, as you'll see here, and the previous month was a wild one. It was about as wild as you get for any one single month in the history of crude oil. And if you look at the range, it's this entire range here that takes you all the way up, and then that's the midpoint. So for the most part, you have your pivot range here, and that's for the month. This pivot range down here is for, I believe, the quarter. So a narrow pivot range for the quarter. But for the month here, it's higher value, but you can see a bearish close. That would suggest weakness. That would mean that any push into the pivot range be seen as selling opportunity, and then you attack the lows here. Again, the fact that we've given up the 106 level would suggest a push back to the 95-96 zone. And again, that could be an opportunity to see a bounce back up within the range. Again, given that value relationship, any bounce into the pivot range could be seen as an opportunity to sell. Let's take a look here at Bitcoin. Bitcoin very strong, crypto very strong in the previous month, especially the last 2.5 weeks or so. We've seen a little bit of a pullback here, and that pullback is coming into, again, as we discussed early in the month, the pivot range for the month. That's the monthly pivot range right there highlighted. You can see it's a higher value relationship, so that means we developed a higher pivot range when we've had generally lower value relationships or modest sideways within this range. This is a full-on higher value with a bullish close. And so you see the first drop into it already seeing a defense. But ideally here again, any push into this zone could provide an opportunity to defend ahead of a push to new highs. Again, 52K could be the next key level above if price is able to hold a pullback here into the next month pivot range. Same thing for Ethereum. Ether futures here, very bullish push out of this triangular range here. Very, very aggressive move. And now you're coming in, you're testing the 8-period average. Not quite into the monthly pivot range here, but you see a higher value relationship. That means we could come down a little bit more. And if we're about to change into a bullish uptrend, then prices below the previous month's close and into the pivot range are ideal for defending and pushing this thing higher. Again, going to be very interesting to see if the market can continue to hold. That 3,000 level is about where the previous month's midpoint is. So again, that's about as low as you want to go here before you start to push higher. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Again, happy Friday, and please be sure to join me next Monday for the monthly market outlook for Q2. Everyone have a fantastic weekend. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.